Good morning. So I'm sitting at the dealership waiting for it to open up because when you drive as much as I do and the check engine light comes on, you don't risk it. Anyway, not going to talk about books this morning. I'm actually talking about something stupid. I mean, there's always something stupid to comment on regarding numbers. So evidently, someone had this mind-blowing tweet that one 18-inch pizza basically has more area than two 12-inch pizzas. I will just link to it in the comments. I actually have something more interesting to comment on in a moment. I haven't even looked at the Twitter thread. I don't really want to look at the Twitter thread. This is not mind-blowing. It just has to do with 81, which is 9 squared, being a bigger number than 72, which is 2 times 6 squared. You know, a lot of people don't like thinking about numbers, and that the general populace doesn't like thinking about numbers. Well, you know what? It's minorly concerning, but it's actually not all that serious. What's really serious, I'm sorry to say, is, of course, journalists tend to be not very numerate. And it's too easy to impress them with numbers or just to flummox them with numbers. This, of course, relates to my 80% fundedness myth. And again, maybe it's dying. It does seem like I've been catching fewer instances of it. But I think a lot of that has to do with, of course, a lot of the public plans that get covered a lot are so far away from 80% fundedness, they can't even pretend to be in a reasonable range. So the 80%, maybe a couple people try to push it down to 70%. But again, if your funded level is less than 50%, let's say Chicago, Illinois, it gets to be a bit difficult. Okay, so the issue is, of course, people who understand numbers have much more lucrative options than journalism. I can write. I understand numbers. I probably get paid a lot more writing about insurance than people do, writing about public finance, unless you're at a big paper like, say, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, or Washington Post. They are able to pay people who actually understand the issues. But if you don't understand that increasing, say, a property tax rate from 2% to 4% is not a 2% increase, it's a 100% increase in the taxes. If you don't understand how interest rates compound, if you don't understand negative numbers, I'm sorry, it's very easy for people who do understand this to fool people. I've had this throughout my career, working as an actuary. We were often seen as the numbers nerds because, hey, we are. But if you're working in insurance, the people working in insurance should be somewhat numerate because the numbers, the finance is extremely important. I expect, and I've been pretty good lately, where I work now, it's, very, very smart people, very numerate people at all levels. But in some cases, you have your sales and marketing team who don't necessarily understand numbers, and the actuaries used to be called on to check their numbers for their copy all the time. There needs to be a certain amount of literacy, and it's not what you think. You don't need to know algebra. Geometry, and that's where the pizza thing comes from. I mean, it's helpful, but it's not so serious. What you really need to understand is how percents work. You need to understand how interest rates work. You need to understand how money works. Debt. Leverage is important. There's all sorts of things, but we can always go back to the macabre principle, and I've not memorized it, though I should. Basically, if you are spending more than you are bringing in, ultimately that debt will kill you. It's not a difficult concept, and a lot of people, you don't even need to understand numbers per se. But it makes it very easy for people to say, oh, we've got this neat trick, pension obligation bonds, that will borrow money and make more money on the stock market. Really? You really are? Anyway, so I'm going to do this in the post, but while there is more pizza for an 18-inch pizza in terms of area than two 12-inch pizzas, there's more crust. And I'm a person who loves crust, so that's why I want two 12-inch and not one 18-inch. See you later.